So today is International Women's Day, celebrated worldwide to celebrate the achievement of women in all walks of life, and also to be able to remind society about the inequalities that women face. And the theme of this year's International Women's Day is breaking the barriers. We are here to talk about the theme without any woman. This is just us men giving our perspective on the day and, trying to join the women celebrate this day. When you read the theme, breaking the barriers, what did you think about it?
First of all, again, I probably just want to kind of go back a little bit and, maybe start with whether or not it's relevant to
that's a good question.
Have an international day for the woman. Is it relevant?
I don't think it is.
Why isn't it?
Well, because I think women nowadays have equal opportunities and equal access to anything that they want to do. Celebrating it feels like women are still disadvantaged, unlike we're still in the 1900s, particularly in the West. I know it's not so much of a celebration here in the West, but in other parts of the world, maybe in Africa, that I know women still struggle, but there have been great strides in women empowerment and women movement in Africa in the last 50 years. If you look at secondary schools and universities, women are leading men in enrollment in many universities in Africa. So I think women can do anything that they want to do, even in Africa now. So if you ask me personally, I don't think to have a day to celebrate women is very relevant now, but people take it to be able to have something to celebrate and have something to be joyous about. With that, I have no qualms.
So I guess your point, you're saying even though you feel like it's not necessarily relevant, again, you have no issue with...
I have no issue with women celebrating. They are carving out the day to be able to celebrate their identity, to be able to celebrate what they have achieved. And, if you want to ask me personally, I think generally this, generally humans are in a fallen state, and not necessarily humans are by default going to struggle with one thing or the other. So there's discrimination against women, which is I think is just down to a human level, the same way there's discrimination against men. But hey, if you want to celebrate women, I think it's worthwhile.
I think women and society generally has come a long way, right? Has come a long way. How women are treated today isn't exactly how women were treated many years back, right? True. Especially in less developed countries where women had a different kind of struggle. Women had to go through a different kind of struggle in life, right? To have a voice, to be heard, to be seen, to own land, for example, to engage in business, to do all things like that. Women have fought a really difficult fight, right? And for me personally, why not celebrate? Why not take a day
to
celebrate those achievements, right? And to remind women that even though they've come a long way, there's still a long way to go. There's still a long way to go. The fight is not ending today. I think a day like this gives everyone the opportunity to kind of reflect on how far we've come and how far we still have to go, right? And again, just it kind of brings us into whether or not the theme for this year's celebration is appropriate. It is break the bias. Do you feel like women are still? I know you hinted it a little bit in your opening, but do you feel like women are still? There's still a lot of biases, stereotypes.
I think so. I genuinely think like that women still face some biases. I think everybody has their own biases, but we're focusing on women today. I think women still face some biases. There are certain things that are expected of women that if you don't do, you're not considered woman enough. There's certain jobs that is still more is not expected for a woman to do. But like I said, everybody has biases. There are biases against old people, there are biases against men, there are biases against children, there are biases against black people or biases against white people. So I think that biases can be completely eradicated from this world? No, I don't think so. As long as we are humans and as long as we have differences, people are always gonna have different biases. So to have that utopian idea that we're gonna live in a world free of biases, unattainable to me.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I agree, but I don't think that anyone is believing that there would come a day when there would be no biases out there. People continue to be people, right? And different views and different opinions, and I don't believe that the objective is to eradicate biases. I think it's letting people know that they are biases. It's letting people,
and I think they are biases towards women.
It's letting people think about those biases, the biases that they have for each other or for women, right? And hopefully when you think about those biases and how you perpetrate them, hopefully you are able to reflect, critically think, and eventually figure out better ways of managing those biases. Because again, if you're ignorant, if you're unaware of the biases that you have towards someone or towards something, you don't necessarily take any steps to kind of remedy those, right? So I think days like this give people the opportunity to learn, figure out those biases and figure out how they can minimize or eradicate or manage those, right? And there's also one thing that I picked up a while ago, like biases. When I hear of a bias, I think about the negative. I always think about
the negative, right?
But there are biases that could. I'm not saying that
there are so many positive biases.
But should again that is so thing, right?
And that brings up the question: when you're eliminating the negative biases, you're also eliminating the positive biases. Because think of how women have fought to be equal. What does that mean? That means now that there's war in Ukraine, you are expected to be able to enroll to go and fight for your country.
Yes.
So that bias is that you can say, oh, I'm a homemaker, I take care of the children, women and children first. You cannot claim that positive bias right now when there's a war, when they're trying to enlist all men, because you're equal to men and you have to go and fight in the war. If you get what I mean.
It's tricky. I agree. It is tricky. And of course, we try to eliminate the negatives without necessarily looking at
the positive bias,
those positive biases. So for example, you mentioned, if there was a tragedy here today, and they said we can only take 10 people,
right?
The highest, they will start with children
and
then
women.
Men
are expendable,
right?
So men are expendable. So, anyway, we don't want to go there and talk about men.
But it's not that, but I'm just saying that when you hear biases, you
always think negative. That's a very good point.
There are really positive biases that people have. Like for example, I think a positive bias for women would be that women are better homemakers. Women are better caregivers than men. Is that necessarily a good bias to have? Towards women?
And one thing that I struggle with the word bias is what is the difference between a human's nature and a bias? Like you said, it's in the nature of women to be nurturers, to be socially intelligent, to be human being focused. Is that a bias, or is that just female nature?
It is a bias that comes out of that
being a woman,
their nature, right? Or another bias would be that women are weak.
But physically, yes, women are weak.
But should I? Women are physically. You can argue that. But the point is, should I use that idea that women are weak to discriminate against a woman?
Well, again, is it a positive or a negative discrimination?
Whatever the case may be.
Well, because it's discrimination positively in the sense that a woman does not expect to carry the groceries into the house. It's the husband. That's a positive discrimination because it comes out from the feeling that women are weak. And for me, all these things depends about the perception. How will you take it? Do you take it as an advantage, or do you take it as being treated upon as being weak? If someone opens the door for you, for example, if someone is being chivalrous, is that taking?
I don't think all women like that.
the ones that are claiming the equality and the bias.
I don't think they like that. I think women, when they go out with a man, want to be able to pay the bills too. Sometimes.
Sometimes,
Again,
sometimes that's a good statement. Is that a bias too for a man to pay for the bills?
You assume that you're responsible for the woman,
right?
Right?
Is that a bias? Because the assumption is from a place that the woman, you're supposed to treat the woman nicely.
I don't know that.
So some women are going to take it that you're
some
treating
women
them
are going
as
to be offended.
Being weak.
Exactly. Some women are going to be offended.
Yeah.
Like, I can take care of myself. I can pay
Why
my
are you
own
doing?
bills,
Do you think
right?
I'm weak?
So why are you doing this to me? So again, you could look at it from very different angles, and people can argue.
You can argue for
and against, right? And that would work really well. But however, there are certain areas in life that those biases are a lot more obvious.
Right.
Right, where you could say clearly this is a bias. So take for example, just the whole idea that women are bad leaders, terrible leaders.
Yeah. I don't know. I have a very contract because most of my bosses, just because of what I do, most of my bosses have been women, and I've had great female leaders. Mm-hmm. I think women lead differently from men. I don't know. I don't agree that women are bad leaders. I think you can have very good leaders in women. So I've never bought that idea.
I mean, for me too. In my place of work, I work in an area where some people would say it's female dominated. Yeah. But most of my managers and my team leaders and my leaders have been pretty great leaders. Right?
Yeah, women, right?
So pretty great women. Yeah, pretty great leaders. So you could argue from certain perspectives that argument, of course, would definitely be
but you know what I think it depends on what the company wants to achieve. Mm-hmm. We are all in human services or dealing with people's health in a field that has to do with human relationship. By nature women are generally good at those. But if you have a company that has to, for example, do construction work and digging and whatever, I think men, because naturally men are involved, men are interested in things, women are interested in people. So I think men will be better leaders in those things. If you have a company that wants to achieve marketing goals, men are generally good in those things. That's why men are dominating in finance, men are dominating in engineering, men are dominating in business in general. But healthcare, you have a lot of...
I think the question now would be, if a woman happened to find herself in that field,
in the engineering,
marketing, and all that. If a woman happened to find herself in that field, and is not given the same opportunities as a man, because
you see, I disagree.
Like
I disagree with you in that, because women who find themselves in those fields and even do the basic, they're usually promoted, because there's usually that push for diversity and to see women in top positions in those fields.
I don't think that companies. I don't think that we're doing enough
to push the women.
I don't think we're doing enough to give women the level of opportunities that we do
in those fields.
In those fields.
But the question comes: are women choosing those fields, or are they willingly discriminated against? If you go into engineering, women are free to apply to those schools of engineering, and I think women are actually encouraged, and there's scholarship for women in this male-dominated field. So you just need to apply, and the standard that women have is not the same for men in those fields, because generally there are more men. So women just need to apply, and I think these companies, because they want to see more diversity, there are opportunities to push women to the top. I think women who are in the top are not necessarily better than their male counterparts, but they're just that there's that push for diversity in those fields.
So would you think that the push for diversity brings in mediocrity?
It does. I think so.
Women who are not necessarily equipped for the job.
I think so.
I think so.
I think so.
That is a really controversial argument.
Yeah,
you can't just assume that they're there because of,
I know
I mean, not you, but one can necessarily conclude that the woman has a position just because she was a woman and the company needed a woman to hold some post of responsibility, and that's why I think that those decisions are usually based on their capacity to perform the function that they are promoted too, right?
Yeah, but that is true, and this is not to say women are not working hard. I think women work hard at those things. But in fields where it's male dominated, and if you have all the men and the women doing practically the same thing, and I think the company will generally pick the woman. Just to have another.
They would
opinion.
pick one. If they have 20 managers, they would have like 2 women. Again, just so that people can see this company.
But the percentage of women picked out to be managers will be higher than the percentage of men, if that makes sense. The proportion. If there are 2 women, you have at least 50% of. You have if there are 2 women, and there are 4 men. You might have 1 man and 1 woman. That's 50% of women, and that's 25% of men. But the proportion of men might be more, if that makes sense. I'm trying.
But again, do we even have to worry about proportion? Take Trudeau. I know Trudeau. The past couple of years, he has been very strong with having a 50-50 government, 50% men.
Do you think that's women? Based on competence?
Do you think the women that she's appointed are not competent enough?
They are competent.
I think the strongest person after Trudeau is the how you call him, Vice Prime Minister. Is there no?
No, it's not
she's Minister of Finance. What's her name?
Freeland.
Yeah,
Freeland. Yeah.
You think she's not competent?
No,
to be Minister of Finance and to be second in charge.
Of course, she is competent.
She is.
No, she is competent. But my point is, when you start your administration that you want to have a gender balance or a race balance, it shows that you're not necessarily picking on competence. It shows that you're picking because you want to have a balance.
No, I think it shows that if you get to a certain level, then you are at a place where you can lead. So every woman who is in cabinet is a member of parliament, right? I mean, how did you get there? It means you're definitely a really good leader.
Yeah.
And it makes sense to give you the same opportunity that you give.
But the assumption is that everybody in the cabinet is the same. But I don't think everybody is the same. There are women who are better than men in many things. Those women should be chosen because they are better than everyone else. There are men who are better. Those people should be chosen because they are better than everyone else.
Okay.
Because they are, I guess when you start by saying we have to have a 50-50 balance of male and female, that means you're already saying that because if you don't do that, people will not attain this role, and you're already setting the precedence that people are not attaining this role because people are not attaining the roles, or they are attaining these roles because of their gender.
For me, what I think is that it gives you the opportunity to think a little bit more about who you are appointing, right? Just like you said, people have different skills, different qualities, right? Women
isn't that what should matter when you're trying to appoint somebody?
Exactly.
So why do you even care about the gender? If a woman performs well, she should get the position. So too a man.
But again, based on the assumption that if you attain a certain level,
well, but
if you're a member of parliament, it doesn't just happen.
The point
by
is,
chance, right?
These people, member of parliament, they're from different walks of life. They all have different experiences and whatever. But if you put gender as a forefront to choose somebody, you're not necessarily looking at the qualification. That's just my argument.
What would you be looking for? Just the fact that someone is a woman? You think that? No, I don't think that's then.
No. That's what he said. He said he wants to make gender balance.
He is saying that if there are women in the parliament in my party, I would make sure that they get appointed to positions.
Why is he saying? Why is he using the word women? Why does he not say the best candidate will get the job? Is he saying that women cannot be the best candidate? Because that's what the assumption leads to. If you say, I only have to choose you because you're a woman, you're saying women cannot be the best.
I don't think that's what he's saying.
Well, that's not what he's saying, but that's the assumption. You can easily draw that conclusion from that.
You could easily draw a conclusion.
If I'm only choosing, I'm going to have a 50-50% male and female. That means if you don't have that rule, you think women cannot attain the top position. That's just my argument.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
It makes sense. You could look at it that way. I definitely disagree, and we could have this conversation
obviously
next week.
We acknowledge that the biases that women face, positive and negative. How do you think as a society we can avoid all the negative biases towards women?
I think the first thing is recognizing, just like we've done, right? It's recognizing that yes, there are biases, that there are stereotypes, and that men and other women use these biases and these stereotypes to discriminate against women, generally speaking, right? And for me, I think one of the most important things is, if you see something, say something. Like people say, if you identify a bias in an environment, I think it makes sense to call it out, right? If someone treats a woman or behaves in a certain way, and you identify that, please call it out. Let this person know that the approach that they've taken or what they've done is discriminatory against the woman, and hopefully they can maybe go back and think about on what they've done and how, and again make good decisions past that, right? So I think that for me, that to be able to identify it and then call it out.
I think it just boils down to everybody just treat everybody like a human being, right? If we treat people with respect and dignity, I think they're going to solve all these problems. And for overcoming all the struggles that women face, and there are certainly struggles that women face, I think identifying them, but encouraging all these associations and ministries and whatever that are trying to eradicate these biases and discriminations that women face. I know there's a huge push for women empowerment organizations, and stuff like that. Maybe to be able to encourage them to be able to help these women who are in need. But for me, just go to old-fashioned treating everybody with respect. Do unto others as you want it to be done to you, right. And I think you're going to solve all these problems.
Also, just in addition, I think policy making is quite important too, right? Those you elect into office shape policies within that country, within that society or their station, right? So I think people need to elect people who would advocate, who would make policies that work for them. If someone is running for office and if they don't have anything on their platform that benefits you, I don't think that's who you should be voting for, right? If you are a woman, you want someone who
has your best interest in mind, right?
Who is able to stand up for you, who is able to talk about pay equality, who is open to talk about the gender disparities, right? You want someone who is willing to do that. So once they get into office, then they can contribute in policies that would make your life better. I think that is equally an important piece.
Oh, why not just run for office yourself?
Oh, why not run for office? I know there are
lots of women in politics now.
There's a lot of women in politics.
And they're doing great job, amazing job.
A shout out to our mayor here. Mayor Jody Gandes, who has been, I would say, from what I know, a serious advocate for women's rights.
She has been
out there. I know a couple of years back, she attended one of our Women's Day, a Women's Day event, right? So she is a strong leader, I would say, and those are people like that are the people you want to emulate. If
they're represent what you stand for, because I know a lot of women who don't agree with her too.
Of course,
myself, there are a lot of things that I don't agree with some female politicians, and it's not because they are females, it's just because I don't agree with their policies.
Points of views, right? I mean, no, you don't agree with
everybody. It's not like I agree with,
but
I agree with you all the time.
It's respectfully disagreeing with people. You want to disagree, but you want to be respectful in your disagreement. So it's putting people into office who have
your best interest
at heart, right? Again, which goes to kind of educating. If you have an opportunity to talk to someone about a bias that you've identified, please
do.
Do that.
So we want to end this by a message to all the women. We have a lot of women supporters. We have a lot of women who have been on this show. What would you like to tell them?
I first of all want to appreciate every support that we've had from any woman out there. I want to appreciate all the women who have been on our show, who have come here to share their experiences and just to have conversations with us. I am hoping that other women and other people out there would have learned, at least learned something from these shows, right? So I would like to wish every woman out there, my wife, I have sisters all over the place.
Yeah.
And my mom, I want to wish you a very special Happy Women's Day. Yeah. I am celebrating this with you, and that I would have you in my thoughts for the rest of the day. Yeah. Of course, you're always in my thought anyway. So yeah, Happy Women's Day. Everyone.
Yeah, so Happy Women's Day to all the beautiful women out there.
What about
not the wife,
the beautiful ones only? I'm just kidding.
The wife, the children, the daughters, the sisters, the friends, all the female friends that I have. Happy Women's Day. We hope you guys have a wonderful celebration today. We love you guys on this show, and pray that you guys continue to support us.